What's good, y'all? It's Bino Beats, and I recently got a song with Toosii that he teased on his Instagram. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down how I made the loop step by step. Everything from recording the acoustic guitar to the exact prompt I used to make the Suno vocals. I'll also wrap up with the story of how I got the loop placed. Here's the snippet.
Finally, me and bro made it out that bottom. My old friends was robbers, killers, scammers, pistol boys, drug dealers. Man, I would've felt victim. Till I J Black Demon, I miss ya. It hurt bad when they said that I ditched ya. When I know I ain't ditch ya, man, you stay with your pistol. When I look, like move on, stuck all alone in the world so cold. Gotta play smart if you wanna live long. Got a hole in my chest, a hole in my soul. I know you left, dog, why did you leave? Give an answer to me, dog, please. Lately I'm feeling oh so empty. Tell me right now, dog, is you with me?
Personally, I think it sounds super fire, and I'm really pleased because it's a solo loop, and I feel like it really encapsulates my signature Bino sound. I've been wanting one with Toosii for a while now, so really hoping that he drops this one. Here's a closer look at the loop.
Running from the quiet, scared of what I'd find. Turns out all that noise was just a way to pass the time. Now I'm standing in the open, no place left to hide. Learning how to stay when I don't recognize every crack and corner where the truth still lives. I'm not fixed, I'm not done, but I'm finally.
Alright, so the first thing I did was recorded the acoustic guitar. If you want to know how to record and get super clean and professional sounding acoustic guitar in your home studio, check out my last video where I break down my step-by-step process. So the first layer is this simple arpeggio. Super simple, literally just two notes being played over and over again, and here's how I played it. So I recorded it, removed some background noise, and then for effects, I added fresh air, which I love to add on an acoustic guitar. I added a subtle crystal choir from Effect Rack and turned the mix down a lot just to give it that kind of ambience. And then for the reverb, I was using the ROM reverb and a tractor delay. I then added a second simple arpeggio over top. I'm still not doing any chords yet, just creating a kind of foundational mood for the loop. Here's how I played this arpeggio, and the thing that makes this arpeggio great is it's using the 7th note, which adds a lot of tension. In terms of effects, this one's a little bit more bare bones. I just added the fresh air, EQ, and then I added this more intimate reverb, so it's a bit more close up and intimate. Then to create space, I took the first arpeggio and second arpeggio and panned each of them to the left and right to make it sound very open and full. Now that I got that foundation of the loop set in place, I then went to adding chords. And there's different ways you can add chords. I could have just done, the root note of each chord, or I could add the major and minor third of each chord. Another way that I like to do it is doing power chords, which I think is super slept on and underrated. I think there's this perception that power chords are for things like, rock and punk music, but honestly, they're super great for pain music. The reason people think a major minor third might be the better option is because on their own, they do sound more emotional than a power chord. But since I already have the arpeggios going on in the background, that's going to create the emotion and tension in the loop. So I don't need to necessarily do that in the chords themselves. And with the name power chord, they just sound super powerful since they have the 5th and the root note in each chord, which just makes it sound super full. So the particular chord progression I chose was a 4-6, 5-3 chord progression. Really emotional, and the 3 is a great passing note. Sounds great on its own, but when you play it in the context with the arpeggios, it just sounds so emotional. If you want to learn the different types of chord progressions you can do, or even the types of chords you can make in each progression, be sure to check out my tutorial on how I approach guitar loops. The link will be in the description. The next thing I added was this lead, and I made sure to use a lot of hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides, as that sounds so great on the acoustic guitar. Here's how I played that on the guitar. terms of the effects for the lead, there's a bit more going on because I wanted to make it a bit more airy and tucked in the background so it doesn't compete with the vocals. I had a shaper box to pan it from side to side. I added this intimate reverb, plus I also added the ROM reverb and delay, the fresh air. Plus I'm also adding the effect rack and turning the mix up a little bit more on this one. So altogether it's sounding like this. Alright, I was then done with the acoustic guitar, but just to fill out the loop a little bit, I wanted to add a simple arpeggio on the electric guitar. Super simple arpeggio, but the thing that makes this thing so great and lush is the preset. I use this preset called Creamy Snowflakes, and it's from my up-and-coming guitar preset kit called Colors, which is going to be dropping very soon. There's a lot of weird crystallizer effects, delays, reverse delays, and panning that just makes it sound so airy and lush. It could take a simple arpeggio and just make it into a cool texture. Now that we're done with the guitar, I wanted to quickly mention, if you don't play the guitar, but want to add professional sounding clean guitar to your loops, I suggest checking out my guitar phrase kit, String Theory Elements. It comes with 650 original guitar phrases and sounds, everything from individual chords and chord progressions, to arpeggios and leads, to even accents. It is everything you need to make guitar loops 100% from scratch or add guitar to perfectly match an existing melody. Then I started adding some sauce to really just fill out the loop and make it feel more warm. The first thing I added was this tremble pedal steel texture. It acts as a nice drone throughout the loop and it'll create a lot of tension. I then chopped up 2 parts of this pedal steel from Splice. Lastly, I added this super processed arcade vocal, and to be honest, it sounds like a pedal steel. Here's what the loop sounds like with all those additional elements. I then started adding in some melodies with VSTs. The first thing I did was add an additional arpeggio. I used this Celesta box preset from Xenology, and here's what it sounds like. Next thing I did is I went into Keyscape and added this cinematic preset and played this chord progression. I then took the exact same chord progression and pasted it into the Rhodes LA Custom Chorus preset from Keyscape just to make it sound super full. To act as a bit of a transition in different parts of the loop, I took this last chord on the piano, exported it, and reversed it. So as we kind of go into the next section of the loop, it's reversing and creating a smooth transition into it. So here's what that sounds like. Alright, I then added a bass, and if you guys have been watching my videos, you know this is my go-to bass. It's the Drive Octo key bass from Keyscape. I think it's super slept on and is so powerful. Alright, I then took all the elements of the loop, arranged them, and exported it so that I could take it over into Suno. And as I was exporting, I went into ChatGPT and used that to create my Suno prompts and get my vocals ready. Even though you're using the AI to create the vocals, you still need to have a really good direction for where you want to take the loop. You need to know what style of singing you want and what style of lyrics. Since the sound of the loop was very emotional and had a lot of country inspiration, I wanted to go for a Noah Kahan style. So what I asked Suno was describe Noah Kahan's singing style in a Suno style prompt, and then it gave me this exact prompt, which I then took into Suno. The next thing I did was coming up with the lyrics. And I could have just gone into ChatGPT and say, write me a song in the style of Noah Kahan, but I think you want it to really align with the emotion that the loop is bringing. And so you have to think, what type of way is this loop making me feel? So what I did, as I said, write me a song in the style of Noah Kahan about finding your true self. And honestly, using that more specific prompt, it gave me perfect lyrics that I know would go crazy. All right, so then I took the loop that was exported and took it into Suno. And then what you want to do is click on the 3 dots, go remix, and then from there you go add vocal. I then went to ChatGPT, took the lyrics, copy and paste them and put them into the lyrics section here. This is just the random lyrics it generated for this new one. For the style, I took the prompt here and copied and pasted there. And for advanced options, you want to pick the gender of the vocals. So in this case, I did male. Lyrics mode manual because he gave it the lyrics. The weirdness you always want to set to 0, and audio influence you always want to do 100%. What you can then tweak and play around with is the style influence. I like to bring it up a little bit, around 60 to 80%, and it's a lot of trial and error. Just go generate, see what it comes up with, and kind of keep going until you get the one you like. And as you can see, I did a lot of trial and error. Even if you're not changing the style influence, don't be afraid just to keep on clicking create until you get the perfect vocals. The way Suno works is it's random. Every single time you click create, even if you have the exact same information, the exact same lyrics, style, and settings there, it's gonna give you a completely different output every single time. So don't get discouraged if the first few tries it doesn't sound that great. Keep on tweaking little things or just hitting create until you get that perfect take. And as you can see, I tried a lot of different times. So I tried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And here's the take I used.
I've been talking to the mirror like it's someone I lost, tracing no mistakes, counting out it like me. I was running from the quiet, all that noise was just a way to pass the time. Now I'm standing in the open, no place left to hide. I'm not fixed, I'm not done, but I'm finally this.
So then I went here, clicked get stems, and extracted the vocal stems. And took those extracted vocal stems, put them into the project, and I chopped them up a little bit because there were certain sections I didn't want to use, and I didn't want to make it too long. But I think that's a general tip for using Suno to create vocals is give it a full song worth of lyrics and export enough of your loop so it creates the full song, and then pick the parts that you like. In terms of the effects for the vocals, I'm using a shaper box to slightly pan from side to side, a bit of that effect track crystal choir, guitar rig for the reverb and delay. And then for EQ, I am kind of cutting out a bit of the high end and low end. So before any effects, here's what that sounds like.
I've been talking to the mirror like it's someone I lost.
And then with effects, it sounds like this.
I've been talking to the mirror like it's someone I lost.
And that's it for the loop. All right, now the story for how I got this loop placed. Although the actual song hasn't dropped yet, this is one of the quickest snippets I've ever gotten. I made that loops a few weeks ago and sent it to the producers I'm tapped in with. My bro Audrey, who's produced for Toosii before, labbed the beat within, a day or so of me sending it to him. And then a few days later, he sent me a text saying Toosii recorded on it. And then an hour or so later, he's like, yo, check the stories. Toosii posted it. From my experience and all the other placements I've gotten, it usually doesn't happen this quickly. For example, when I got my Rod snippet, that was from a beat that was over a year old. There's a few reasons why I think this particular loop got placed. First is it's really my unique, authentic sound. That mix of melodic acoustic guitar with kind of pain piano and some crazy country vocals, I think it's just something that's really authentic to me. And drum makers and artists as well are always looking for unique sounds to hop on. Building on that, I think just using the acoustic guitar specifically is a really good way to differentiate yourself as a producer. The vocals were definitely 100% a reason it got placed. I know Audrey, when he labbed it, he actually did it with the vocals and without, but Toosii decided to hop on the ones with the vocals because honestly, they were so crazy. I think using male vocals is super underrated. I think a lot of the time people go for female vocals that sound very kind of soft and angelic, but there's something kind of really emotional about using a male vocal that's kind of, gritty and raspy. Lastly, I think a reason why this loop got placed is because it was a solo loop. A lot of the loops that I have placed are collab loops, but I tend to find that if I do a loop by myself, is a greater chance of getting used by bigger producers. Anyways, that wraps up this tutorial. Really appreciate you guys. Be sure to check out some of my previous tutorials that I referenced in this video if you haven't yet. If you're learning the acoustic guitar, just learning how to make pain loops, they'll be super beneficial to you. Be sure to go grab my phrase kit string theory elements if you haven't yet. Anybody who's been joining my Discord and sending collabs back using the phrases from the kit, I've been sending out the hard ones to bigger producers to get placed. And String Theory Colors is on the way. That's gonna have all my go-to effects and presets for both acoustic and electric guitar. So join my email list in the description, and when it drops, you'll get an early access discount. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.